Lou Barlow.
I'm at Carl from Joyful Noise's house with Lou Barlow here in the basement.
Where we you recorded songs yesterday? You recorded a song? I recorded a song.
That's right. We did a song. They got mixed, sent straight to a lathe, and cut onto record. I won't say vinyl, but plexiglass.
Within a half an hour of the performance of the song, it was being committed to vinyl.
That's old school.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about this morning, and you know, I've been doing this since I was about 18. Like, when I say this, I mean like making records and touring and doing that. And you've been doing this since I was like 6.
Really?
6, 7, 8. I don't know.
Well, when were you born? If I can.
79.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
79. All right. So I was born in 66. Okay. I don't know where else to go with that. Although I just said these numbers, and now I'm really confused. But
so does it feel like it's been that long? Do you have times where you like, or does it stay fresh somehow for you?
It stays pretty fresh.
And how do you do that? How do you keep it fresh?
I don't know if I do it. I mean, I just truly feel like I've never figured it out. So
you're always trying to figure it out. So I'm
always trying to figure it out, and I feel very grateful that I'm actually allowed to keep figuring it out over and over again.
Right.
You know, that I can be in my 40s now and still figuring it out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a real...
And the world waits for you to figure it out a little bit more.
It's kind of amazing, you know, I mean, because it's amazing to, you know, to be playing now. I mean, because, I mean, obviously, I guess you would be slightly I mean, if we could put, you know, this kind of music in generations, you're sort of a generation after my generation, you know. Mm-hmm. So to think that I could play shows now and share the stage with bands of your generation, I mean, that's still, I'm just like, how can this still keep happening?
And I'm considered old.
And you're actually on their way out.
Exactly. So, like...
You've been around for a while now. I mean, that's true, because we played a show together.
This surprises me that you remember this, by the way. I
do remember, because people were talking a lot about the Anticon thing.
Okay.
Back then. And when was that? Was like around 2000?
The show we played was 03, I think. Yeah. That's my guess.
Because I remember, yeah, so yeah, so you're sort of, you've been around for a while. I was actually surprised. I mean, like, the same. I thought it was different. I was like, this is that Anticon thing. Oh, right. Got it. Okay. Because I remembered the show we played in Glasgow. And so anyway, so you're that's great.
Yeah, I'm still doing, so I can see,
You're actually doing better now. I mean, you're actually still growing.
Am I? I don't know.
I think you are.
It's
From
really
what I can tell,
say.
I mean, when youngsters like Carl start talking about it, I'm like, well, okay, so that's good, you know. So you made the sort of the leap over the aughts, you know, over the 2000s. So you've made it into this new thing. So
that's true.
That's something, because, you know,
a lot of my friends kind of stopped doing it. You know what I mean? After a while, I think that's a fairly typical response to the years, is that you're like, okay, now I'm going to get a job and get married and have kids and have, you know, and settle it down or whatever. But you're married and you have kids, but you keep it.
I keep playing.
Yeah,
that's all I can do, really.
But you're established. You know, you're at a point where you don't have to muscle it out like you used to, I assume.
No, I mean, I guess there are some people that are just willing to throw me a bone here and there. There's still some charity out there. That's true. I mean, it's like what it comes down to.
You think so?
Yeah, no,
you don't feel like you've earned it.
Yeah, maybe on some level, you know. I mean, I like the idea that, like, on some level, you know, there are people that know about the stuff I've done, and they're generally musicians. So I like that. I like the idea that, like, I've sort of contributed to the flow. You know what I mean? But as far as, like, you know, having an adoring audience that sort of is as far as having like a steady audience that has allowed me to go through this, it's not so much. You know, I think it's
so you haven't had we have like, you know, we're not a famous band or whatever, but we have our loyal fans that, like, you know, the type of people that, like, you know, if you go to this town, you know that this group of people is going to be out. Mm-hmm. You must have that.
Yeah, but it's a yeah.
Does it dwindle?
It's dwindled. Yeah,
it's gotten smaller. Yeah. So when did you feel was the heyday, or maybe it's not yet? Let's say it's not yet.
Great. That would be great. I mean, I guess. Well, it depends. I mean, I've got this. I'm really fortunate that I actually have several. I mean, I sort of operate on a couple of different levels. So I'm the bass player with Dinosaur Jr., who are, I mean, like we started, we did our first tours in 1986.
Right.
So you would have been 7.
I was 7 years old, man.
We were doing our first tours in 86 and 87. And I had a hardcore band to put out a record in 1984.
Right.
So anyway, what's my point? I don't know.
Well, I was wondering when did you feel was like the hey?
Oh, the heyday was definitely like 94, 95.
94, 95. Like after Nirvana, basically.
Yeah, after Nirvana.
Broke the doors down, I guess.
They kind of broke the doors down, but I mean, to be perfectly honest, like before Nirvana happened, we were already kind of like, back then, I mean, bands were, you could be in a crazy band and tour and do well. I mean, like, Nirvana didn't break down the door for Jesus Lizard. They were already playing to hundreds of people in every town they went to. I mean, and
they just took it to an insane other level.
They took it to an insane other level, but you can't really ignore the fact that, like, there was this really thriving underground happening beneath that would have gone on whether Nirvana had happened at all. So to me, it's debatable that, Sebadoh really, or even, benefited from Nirvana because there was a thriving scene. I mean, there was a thriving independent scene.
You could say that Nirvana is a product of that scene.
They're a product
being
of
there already, just bubbling under the surface, and they were something that happened to bubble above the surface.
Exactly, because things like Superchunk, Pavement, Sebadoh, all that shit. It was doing real well on its own.
Yeah.
We didn't like it. Didn't we? I mean, because in a lot of ways, we were peers, and the people who liked us were more or less our age group, and we all kind of wanted, we all sort of, it's just like any particular scene or generation of people. I mean, there was a real shared thing that was going on, and, so the Nirvana thing was like, whether that, half Japanese opened up for Nirvana. I mean, did that make a big difference? I mean, that doesn't matter,
Sure.
I mean, Nirvana made gestures, really nice gestures to embrace to say who they were influenced by and stuff like that. But Nirvana were a classic rock band from the time they started, and it really had nothing to do. I mean, it didn't have, not to say that it had nothing to do with indie rock as it existed, but they immediately sort of outclassed all of that stuff and went to another level. But meanwhile, it all still existed on its level, and I believe, my belief is that whether Nirvana happened or not, Sebadoh, Pavement, or whatever would have experienced the same level of popularity and would have, and would have dipped and, like our popularity would have followed the same trajectory.
There was that 90s thing that happened. I mean, it was, I guess it's punk and hardcore influenced rock and roll that, you can do stuff that's not, obviously it's out of the anything prog or music schoolish and into the the self-taught, self-learned stuff, but without necessarily that abrasive edge that punk and hardcore had, into a more melodic thing, but still distorted. Stuff like that.
And I guess. Taking off a little bit of the antisocial aspects of punk,
right.
Like, it was less about like pointing fingers and screaming at it was more about I don't know. I mean, I just remember when Pavement first came around. I mean, Sebadoh were very much like, we were a pretty aggressive, almost terroristic kind of band when we started. I mean, we were pretty edgy,
Yeah.
But I remember when like Pavement came around, Teenage Fan Club. I mean, these guys were like smiling on stage, and you're like, "What the fuck?"
Right?
Like, they're smiling on stage. Superchunk too. It's like they were like happy, and there was like this. There was this kind of blossoming of like things kind of took a less intensely dark thing in the mid '90s.
Was it a change of drugs or something?
I don't know what it was. I just think it was people. I think it was people who were just. I don't know. I mean, God, I guess you kind of come up with theories about why that would be. But yeah, I noticed it because I was such an angry. Things that I did were so intense and like, Sebadoh, even though we were quiet and we were sort of, sensitive, quote unquote. We were I don't know.
On the first few records, but do you feel like you transitioned out of that into more?
We did for sure.
Yeah.
Did.
I would say to me you did. Yeah.
We did for sure. We did do that.
And what brought that about for you personally? Just growing up?
I don't know. I guess maybe growing up. I don't know. Well, I don't know. At the heart of what I do, I really love songs and I love melody and all that stuff. And, and I don't necessarily want to... you probably could cut it down to just like, I stopped writing out of like this pot sort of marijuana paranoid state, and I just started writing more from just... I don't know. I'm getting into kind of thick territory. I can't really.
We like thick territory here.
I can't really sort it out, but it was like I was coming. I was like, I guess I sort of hit a period where I was maybe happier personally, and I was playing to bigger audiences, and maybe I just didn't really want to like fucking fuck with people that much anymore. I don't know. Maybe it just didn't seem like that's really what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I still fuck with people. Sebadoh has a long, tortured history of just like crazy live shows that really turn people off. And
even now?
Well, not so much now. Not for ages, but all you have to do is play a couple of fucked up shows and act like an asshole on stage a few times, and you become an asshole.
That's you. So do you have that reputation?
Oh, absolutely.
Nice.
There's places where you can't even. There's still people. You mentioned my name, they're like, he's an asshole.
What shit? What do you do? Like with crew or like?
Oh no.
Audience, yeah.
Always. Never crew. Never like people that I know and stuff. That's always. That's always like that's sacred ground.
You have to be so thankful to those people.
Those are the people that you. Never personally. But on stage, I could be I can't hear myself in the monitor.
Right.
Sorry, everybody, I don't have the right guitar amp tonight. Just that kind of shit.
Yeah,
where you're like on stage and you're allowing your insecurities to show. And I think for me, it was like I always thought, it's really, I should really be real on stage and say how I'm feeling. But basically, if you walk out on stage and you're like, I'm having a bad night tonight, and you tell people that everybody in that audience, except for a few people that have really great senses of humor or they're musicians themselves, are going to be like, what the fuck is the problem?
Right.
No, we're all here to see you play. Why are you whining about? We paid to watch you play, and we're really here for you, and we want this to be a positive. Why are you turning this on us now? Mm-hmm. This isn't fair.
Is it usually a product of like lack of sleep and just
lack of sleep and our alcohol, pot, bad combinations of things.
Do you smoke weed before you play ever, or did you used to?
Oh, I used to. Yeah. I don't so much anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, I used to sometimes get just punishingly high and then walk out on stage and. It was just funny how like when I feel like when I was younger, I would put myself through these things, those kind of like, I call them like chemical rites of passage, you know, like instead of like, instead of experiencing all those, intense things that your fathers would have to experience, whether it be warfare or this or that or blah, 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 or.
But that's
you put yourself through these incredible, like you tax yourself and force yourself to live through extreme duress, physical, mental duress, and come out the other side. And I was doing that often, like in a public.
I feel like that's your generation, man. Honestly, like that, like the generation like 10 years above me.
Wow.
Like my fault. Obviously, I grew up smoking weed and doing like psychedelics. You know what I mean? But like, we didn't get into like. Obviously, there's the coke people or whatever, but that's like a certain type, and the heroin people. But it's like a certain type. Like by and large, my and obviously listeners, you'll probably have discrepancies against this, but my people, we never got deep into drugs. Like, and I know you've struggled with that.
Yeah,
but you're able to you drink, you're drinking wine, and you know, and I don't know, and you don't have to like do the whole like 12-stepper like cut everything. No,
I
off
don't.
Type thing.
I mean, I could.
Sure,
and I do. I mean, I do cut everything off. I mean, I just think, you know, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's been. I mean, the fact is, I mean, I could just look back right now. You know, I just turned 48 years old. It's really easy to look back and just go like. Really, you can just see the destruction that alcohol causes, like just in people's lives, in my life.
That's kind of the worst one in my mind.
It's fucking the worst.
Yeah.
Like that, absolutely. Like you look back and just like, fuck. Yeah, I don't know. But you know, you're saying psychedelics. To me, that was a big thing for me, too. It's like, hey, you fucking take a hit of acid and try to play a show.
Yeah.
How about that?
I never did that.
You've never done that?
I never did that.
No, well,
because I quit doing those really before my music career. I mean, that was like high school.
No,
you were all about it.
Oh, yeah. And there was the band, the 13th Floor Elevators.
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
It was their band policy that they all had to be tripping on acid for every show. The only person who didn't do it was the drummer.
Okay.
Like he had a couple of bad experiences and he's like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
So they allowed him to not do it. But everybody else in that band had to take acid every time before they played.
It's absurd.
I mean, that's an incredible, like... Anyway.
Yeah.
But I mean...
something's going to happen. I mean, something different is going to happen. That's for sure. It's not going to be
not really. I mean, it's... Something different, yeah.
For them, at least.
For them.
You know?
But then you listen to the live 13th Floor Elevators stuff, and it's like, you know, sounds like a rockin' band.
Yeah.
Getting their way.
So they were able to, they're basically fighting the effects
They're fighting, exactly. That's the weird thing about it. You put yourself in the position of fighting against this shit, which is like such a strange...
Well, it's the same with weed. It's like, if you go, like, I played a couple shows high. I definitely don't do it now, and I definitely don't make it... You know, I know some of my band members occasionally have done that, but, like, I don't like it, and if I find out, I don't like it, because I like, you know, I've done it before, and like I it's like my timing gets off, and I get like super like our tempos will get real slow, you know, shit like that.
Oh yeah,
but
I've done it so many times I can't even.
I mean, it's fun. Don't get me wrong; it's fun to do.
Well, it's not that fun, honestly. I mean, because then you can. I've had plenty of freakouts where, you know, you get high and it's like, I'm too loud in the monitor.
Right.
Turn me down. Then you're like, it's down too much. Turn it. I mean, like you lose that. I mean, it's a drag. I mean, I don't do. I mean, fuck, I'm fucking 48 years old. I don't do that so much anymore.
Yeah.
Just because it makes it harder. Like, my life now is about making shit. I mean, I just want it to be easy. I want to get out there. I want to get out there and just, like, let my instincts take over and let the fact that I've fucking, you know, I've spent the better part of my life playing music and enjoying it, and I'm...
You know what to do when you're out there.
I know what to do, and I love it, and I love to sing, and it makes me feel, you know, singing and playing is, like, at the root of, like, just me trying to stay healthy in my life.
Yes.
And, you know, that's something, and now, you know, that just becomes more and more precious every time I do it. So things that like get in the way of that are definitely like, you know, I'm just, you know, I'm not making a big decision like, hey, I'm not drinking anymore. Right. I'm not smoking. It's like, no, look, I don't even know. I mean, it's like, I can't. Sorry.
You don't, I mean, and it sounds like you don't have that, like, you know, some people just can't stop.
No, it's a real real self-destructive thing, and I think it comes from really intense personal issues.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, the fact is, like, my mama loved me, and, you know, that's
Where'd you grow up?
Well, I was born in Dayton, and
That's right, Dayton, Ohio.
Yeah, I was born in Dayton, and all my family still is from there.
Cool.
My, most of them. I mean, I've got hundreds of cousins and stuff in Dayton, and my great-grandfather, Lewis, who I was named after, he was the mayor of Dayton in the 50s for a year or two. And then, not Lewis, he was Louis Lori, but then I moved to Michigan when I was very young, like maybe 2 years old, and I lived in Michigan until I was 12. So, kind of grew up in the Midwest and spending a lot of time going back and forth between Jackson, Michigan, and Dayton. You know, because my family really has really strong ties. My both my mother and father come from very large families, and
Do you spend a lot of time back in Dayton?
I don't. I mean, I've been living in LA for a really long time, and I got really isolated out in LA because no one would come out and visit me, and I toured so much that I've actually really fallen out of touch with Dayton. But I've kind of gone through a recent change in my life where, where things have changed, and I want my kids to see their family, and I want to just force my kids into a van and drive them places that they don't want to go. That's that's my next step.
What clicked?
I got divorced. I'm in the middle of a divorce. I mean, I had a very, and I met a girl who's just more. I don't know. We relate on a real emotional level. I mean, she's from Minnesota. She's got this kind of Midwestern upbringing. She's real close to her family. I've got a couple of kids that, and you just, I don't know, just basically like, look, I don't want to live an isolated life. I don't want my kids to never see I want to force my kids to. I want to drive them to Dayton and go to a fucking family reunion and have them just see a swarm of people who look kind of like them.
These are
the people. Yeah. And I want to I want to do that. I want to have the hellish like 10-hour car trip with the kids.
That's bonding time.
I want to do that before they're too old. And I want to like.
How old are they?
They're 9 and 4 right now.
Okay.
So
now's the time.
Yeah. And. And I want to be closer to my mom and dad, so I'm moving back east. I want to be close to my mom and dad.
Oh, you're leaving LA?
I'm leaving LA.
You're moving to...
I'm moving back east. Like, I had moved to Massachusetts when I was 12.
Right.
So, basically where I grew up and, like, where my heart really is Massachusetts.
Okay.
That's where my family lives. That's where my Dinosaur Jr. still are based there. Jason and Bob from Sabato are living in New York, so that's fairly, whatever. It's generally the same area. So I'm going back east to be, I'm going back east for the next part of my life. I guess I lived this kind of crazy life. I tried to, it wasn't crazy. Nothing I do is crazy. I'm a very domestic person, but, I lived my life, I had my LA life, and I did that, and I loved it, and I'm sorry to leave, but I'm going back to just be with my family, to spend time with them, and... and
you're going through a change.
Yeah, and to be with my family. I just want to be with my family, and for whatever that entails, whatever that means. I don't have any. I just want to be. I want to be around them. I want my kids to be around them. And and I'm just.
Time goes, and you're not getting younger.
No, not really fucking. That shit. It's cliche, but man.
Yeah,
it happens.
But it's true.
It happens. It's like.
That's one of the reasons I moved back to Cincinnati. To be honest.
Really?
Yeah. Because I lived in the Bay Area for
that's right.
many years.
Okay. That's what I heard.
And I just felt like I felt disconnected.
Yeah.
And I felt like, all right, it's time to just reestablish roots or something like that.
I wish I did it when I was your age.
Better now than later. You know what I mean? Like
better now than ever.
Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about like recording and stuff. I grew up doing the home recording thing, and I think you started in that same way, and I think maybe you still work like that. Maybe I don't know.
Sure, of course, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Not of course. I don't know.
Oh no, I'm saying of course to myself. I'm sorry. I don't mean to.
No,
say it like a condescending way. I'm saying that's where I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable by myself.
So I know you had some studio records like done.
Oh yeah.
But do you still do that ever or not? Are you just
I don't really have the to be. Perfectly honest, I don't have the money for that.
Right.
Studios are expensive.
Yes.
That's...
And these days you don't need to do that. You
don't need to. No, you don't. But, it's expensive. So...
Do you work on computers nowadays?
I did. I've been working on, I got, the first time that, Pro Tools came out with the Digi 001... The first time it was where it was $900. I was I bought it. I was because I've been doing a lot of Pro Tools over. I had a band called the Folk Implosion.
Yeah, sure.
That that was mid '90s into late '90s, and we did. Pro Tools was it became our thing. We loved it. Early Pro, the guy that I worked with, this guy Wally Gagel, he was an early adapter to Pro Tools. So I sat over that guy's shoulders and watched him do Pro Tools for several years, and was just fucking intrigued by the
that was
possibilities.
Stuff
of
you were
that.
doing in the studio setting.
Yes, well, I mean, it was a studio setting, but it was basically like it was basically him set up with his stuff in a practice space,
Okay.
really, like in Boston. I had a really
So
good,
all the folk implosion stuff you guys did like that.
well, not the very early stuff.
Okay.
I mean, there's stuff out that the first two. No, actually, there was one. We did several EPs, 7 inches,
The kids soundtrack thing.
Kids
that was
soundtrack-
the first stuff I heard.
Yeah, half of that stuff is actually 4-track, full
Okay,
on 4-track
okay.
that I did myself, like in
Cool.
in John's house.
Yeah.
And then the other half is like actually that's all tape.
Mm-hmm.
But right after that, after we kind of had that, after that we did that, we started working on a new record, and we did that record on ADAT. Anyway,
Remember ADAT? Wow.
we did ADAT. We did our second record, Dare to Be Surprised, on ADAT.
Uh-huh.
But I was working with this guy Wally, who he was really into new shit, you
Right.
know? And he had a friend who was a real early adapter to Pro Tools. We did some remixes on Pro Tools, and he was like, "What the heck? This stuff is amazing."
Yeah.
And
For editing and stuff
yeah,
like
and this
that.
must have been 96, 97, and then he got Pro Tools, and and when I moved to LA, he just moved his rig out to. He just got it all in my house in LA, and we recorded a record in my house in LA on Pro Tools.
The folk implosion?
Yeah, it was one part lullaby,
Okay.
and we did it on Pro Tools, and I loved it. I thought it was fucking great. I loved it. And at that time, I watched, and then so shortly after that, and it was really expensive at that time, like thousands, and they put out that Digi 001 that was $900. And I went right to Guitar Center and bought that little box and bought my fucking G3, my Mac G3 desktop, and I fucking set that.
I had one of those.
Yeah, I had my friend set it up, and that thing still works to this day. I mean, it doesn't.
Is that what you use now?
No, but I could.
You could.
I could.
What's your like?
Now I'm fucked because my life is so fucked up right now. Because I'm in the middle of a divorce.
Because of the divorce. Yeah.
Divorce. It's been. I mean, it's literally like it's been the most. I mean, it's like
It's
it's
long,
too.
drawn
to
out.
change my life. I mean, basically, you're talking about. I mean, I've been living my life for 25 years one way. To totally change that life is going to take a while.
Right.
So, and to do it in a way that where you're not.
You were married for 25 years?
I was with a woman for 25 years.
Wow.
I was not
That's
married
a
for 25
big
years.
transition.
I was not married for 25 years, but we were together. We were more or less married for 25 years. So to make that transition, it's like it's going to take. I mean, and to do it and not be a complete asshole, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To not be the fucking legendary, and then he just left.
Right.
Babies were crying on the floor, and he was like, he never
babies.
came back. I'm not going to do that. It's like I'm actually going to make this I'm basically going to sit in the middle of this whirlwind and try to
work it out,
and be as fucking kind as I possibly can to everybody involved, which is like the most fun.
It's been
that is like a challenge.
You've been doing it for a while, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's like I'm in the middle. I'm almost 2 years into it now. But
I heard the Mark Maron episode that you did, and you sound like you were in it at that point.
Well, no, I look back at those days like that's
That was
not even
nothing, huh?
nothing. This is nothing. I mean, but it's it's amazing how things. I mean, but shit changes and it takes a while. So
sure.
Anyway, right now I'm like totally in flux, man.
So you're not really working right now.
I am, I'm writing. I got a bunch of songs, and when I get any fucking time I possibly can, it's like I got a little another Pro Tools basic thing, with a little tiny little Avid box with the 2 inputs on it, and your little you got to put
duet or whatever.
You got to put in your Then you got to put in your little fucking USB thing to make it all work, which is such bullshit. And then I don't like it. I mean, I'm very frustrated with my recording situation right now because I can't.
I just got mine honed and set up.
I bought a what did I buy? I bought a really good
Apogee?
No, it's like a preamp.
Okay.
I'm such an idiot about gear. Like I can't tell anybody.
But it's the thing you put the mic into before you put it.
Yes.
Into the thing. Yeah.
And it's a really good one.
Like a UA or something like that.
Yes, and it cost. I don't think it was a UA, but it cost like fucking $2,000.
Oh wow.
But I was like, I have to do this because I mean, I just have to have something that is softening whatever I'm doing before it hits this fucking computer.
Yeah, because the computer, it's like when you're talking about those G3 days, it really was like recording was like throwing a penny in the ocean. Like that's the sound of it was like this abyss of digital emptiness. Do you know what I'm saying? After you're used to recording on tape.
I know exactly what you're saying. And I went to great lengths to I mean, I feel like I really figured it out because I mean, I sat with that fucking G3 and that Digi 001 and I took years, but I figured out a way to make it.
You really had to do stuff to it.
Really do stuff to it, and then learn your plugins, and then learn what you want to do before it, and then do shit before it even gets into that computer.
Exactly.
That's a big part of it.
Pedals and do whatever.
Do that first, and do shit you can't change. You know, before you put, and do a mixture of all that stuff. I had a real good system worked out, and I did a couple of solo records that way. Mm-hmm. With like this what I figured out, and I remember like when I would do it, and then I would bring it into studios to do the final mixes, and they're like, "Oh, you actually did a pretty good job."
Yeah,
I'm like, really? Great, because I would always just think like I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah.
But whenever I would get into a clinical situation where they were like we were basically mixing down the records, and be like, this is actually pretty good. Like, great.
Yeah,
But it took me a while, man. And now I lost my G3 pretty much tapped out, so I don't use my Digi 001 anymore. So I'm kind of like lost right now. I'm just using this fucking Duo going into the.
But you haven't really been working much. Do you like on recording? I mean.
Yeah, I mean I'm playing plenty.
You play a lot.
Yeah.
Do you feel when you're not recording stuff? Do you feel sort of like, in a way, like lost or in some weird no man's land kind of thing?
Totally, I feel,
I get that way.
There's nothing that makes me happier than recording, I swear to God. I mean, it's one of those things that's like, this is what I do, it makes me more happy than anything else. I mean, and I can actually say that even more strongly now that I've been through my periods of like, drugs and all that stuff. And I'm like, when am I absolutely my happiest? I mean, it's like, either, it's like if I'm recording and I actually get stuff done, I am like so happy.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I
feel like I think I've figured it out in a way. It is, I don't, as a man, I don't know myself emotionally, like off the bat. And I say as a man, but of course some men do. It takes me time and reflection to understand myself psychologically and emotionally. And for me, I do it through the lens of music.
That's really interesting.
So
I like that.
Yeah.
Thank you. I want
to
take what you just said and tell that to